hormone imbalances and don't realize it, and then that affects your mood and so many other things. So we'll do a men's basket soon, but this one's geared to the women. CBD oil is in this basket and has been found to be helpful. I found it to be helpful with my patients in terms of sleep and even helping them with anxiety that will come from the different hormone imbalances as well. For those of you on Facebook, if you missed out, we are giving away next a hormone balance. We had a winner of our protein or of our smoothie lab basket. That was Adrienne Paley, so congratulations. But this basket is all about balancing your hormones and starting you on that journey. There are a couple of products from Dr. Wise that are homeopathic in origin that will make a difference too. This one is specifically geared towards energy. And then we've got one also geared towards mood, because again, we are hormonal creatures. We're not going to deny that, right? And so as our hormones change, our moods can change, and so many other things can shift as well. All right, so that's what I've got here. And I went ahead and threw in this book by Dr. Anna Kabeka, who I've interviewed on my show, on my podcast a couple of times. And she's right here in the Southeast region as well. But she's written a book about hormones, and especially for any of you who are approaching menopause or having more issues with your hormones from that sense, that might be an incredible resource for you as well. And there's just great general information on hormones too. So that's our giveaway coming up this week. I will post it tomorrow morning. Get ready to enter. It's going to be the same. Tag 3 friends. I'll close it out Friday evening at 6, and we'll announce the winner next Sunday. So this is so much fun. I wish I had done this more often before. I don't know why I didn't think about it. So will it help with insomnia? Yes, it will help with insomnia. We have a couple things, either between the homeopathic stuff or between the CBD oil. I didn't even mention, sorry guys, I didn't mention we have maca in here too. And maca is great with hormone balance as well. So give it a try. Again, ultimately the sleep disorders when your hormones are off are usually from estrogen being too high or progesterone being too low or your thyroid being off completely. So balancing that gut and liver is a foundation. And I talk to my patients about that all the time. That's kind of your foundational work. And then from that point forward, we make decisions about whether you need hormone replacement or not. And it's not an option for everybody, and it has to be done very, very carefully. But that is something that we look at. And I think it's important because it can absolutely change how you feel and who you are. And literally, when I talk about power and helping you guys find your power, well, our hormones are a source of your power, and watch them change and you literally become a shadow version of yourself. So that's this week's giveaway. I hope you guys are excited about it. We're going to keep targeting every age group, every condition to get people on board with staying super powered. It's just so important to understand how to put the pieces of your health back together. I'm getting lots of questions just on this, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but let me answer one more. Anything for a 13-year-old pubescent boy? I'm right there with you. Got a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old, and those hormones and how it changes their mood. You know what the key is with our children and our teenagers is to really watch their diet, watch their electronic intake, get them lots of physical activity and exercise, and really watch their gut health. I think that's where we can begin, because we don't obviously want to give hormones to children this age, but we do know that they're suffering from many of the things we see later on, quite honestly, in adults. But the starting point for them, probiotics, get rid of the sugar, get rid of really minimize electronics because it's inflammatory, and get them active, moving around, drinking tons of water. That's probably your first place to start. You can move on from there. Gut, liver, gut, liver, gut, liver. If you don't remember anything else, that is the foundation, the foundational work for hormone management. And so moving on from there to help that liver, if they will do it, doing a green smoothie or a green powder, or another product actually I really like a lot, and I've talked about in the past, is recovery bits, where like little algae pills that you take, and they help to detox the liver. So those are some options for our tweens and our teens, because we certainly don't want them on heavy-handed doses of hormones right now. All right, let's keep going. And remember, do you guys still have a podcast? I don't know if any of you out there have listened to my podcast and you like those episodes. It's Superwoman Wellness. It's on Spotify. It's the Dr. Taz Show. If you go on there and post a review and screenshot it to me at hello@drtaz, that's doctortaz.com, I will send you a free bottle of Boost, which is my methylated B vitamin to help mood and energy and hormone balance, all of the things we're talking about right now. So go ahead and head on over to Spotify when you get a moment, post a review, screenshot it to me. We want to keep this tribe of women and men super powered, healthy, and moving forward. which brings me to some new information. Speaking of moving forward and maybe not doing it so well, is the coronavirus pandemic. How are you guys holding up? Everyone doing okay out there and navigating all the news? Today was a controversial day here in the United States with lots of press conferences from our president and lots of debate over different therapies. I'm going to break it all down for you guys. We're going to talk about it again, and we're going to talk about it in terms of what really is happening and what we really need to be prepared for. When I talk about being superpowered and being, well, it's not just a tagline. We are seeing it play out right here in the United States of America, where we're supposed to be one of the wealthiest, most superpowered countries. But we are seeing very clearly that the lack or the inability of our healthcare system to help people understand the nuances of their health and how things like inflammation, gut health, nutritional status, hormone balance, and all of these other things matter, especially when we're dealing with an emerging virus. It has just never been more evident or obvious how we have it wrong when it comes to healthcare and healthcare delivery. And what I hope to do in the few minutes that I have with each of you, I hope you spread the message that it's important to really pay attention to some of these other markers that are getting ignored, and we're getting lost in a political fight about what is the right and wrong thing to do, when the right thing to do is very clear. And I'm going to share with you what other countries have done, why they've been successful, why the US has 25% of COVID-19 cases, although it only has 5% of the world's population. There are reasons, guys, and there are multiple reasons. So we'll get into that in just a minute. I want to start with the numbers. We always like to look at those every week. So we're at 5.6 million cases here in the United States of America and 175,000 deaths. So again, we're sort of holding at a relatively steady rate. And when it comes to the mortality rate, the caseload is going up. So as we get out there, as we mingle, as we go to school, we're going to see the caseload go up. Here is my fundamental problem with this virus. It is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And any of us that are hoping or dreaming that's going to magically disappear and we're going to wake up one day and everything's going to be back to normal, I'm here to tell you that the virus is here to stay. It is a coronavirus. It is in the family of cold viruses. How many times do you guys get a cold in any given year, or you know someone that gets frequent colds? Well, here's what we've got to do. We have got to work on keeping our immune systems healthy and strong, and we've got to practice good basic hygiene that protects ourselves but protects our neighbors. And we have that feeling of citizenship and responsibility that makes us do that. All right, let's move forward and see what we're saying here. So we've got a couple of different interesting reports coming out. This is not really a research study, but more of a commentary. But I thought it was interesting. The pandemic has put the United States in unusual and humbling global company. We are in the company of Russia, India, Brazil, and Mexico with our high caseload. What is the common denominator between all of these countries? To the shock of many people around the world, the U.S. is now faring worse than Mexico, Brazil, India, and Russia. The common denominator is really the lack of leadership, the lack of strategic planning, the lack of leadership, the lack of deliberate action swiftly and quickly right in the beginning. And that is why the U.S. is sort of in the situation it is in. We've had arguments about things we don't need to have arguments about. We don't need to have arguments about wearing masks or washing our hands or social distancing. I think those things are very clear. We should have arguments maybe and research about what treatment strategy works the best. I watched a news report earlier today where the rush to have a vaccine is even politicized. Every treatment is politicized. Our president is upset that he feels like his treatment options are being held back by the FDA. In the mix of politics, we are not getting answers. And I think that is the most frustrating thing for all of us, because we're having to navigate the political field to get answers about healthcare. And that's just wrong. Those need to be separate. We need to have unbiased medical opinions. They don't need to be paid for by pharma. I think this is such a crime that healthcare today, at least here in the United States, is delivered by the person with the biggest pocketbook and the biggest dollar, and then everybody dukes it out from there. So again, I think the U.S. is in the shape it's in because of the type of healthcare we deliver, our refusal to bring together different systems of medicine, to think about lifestyle and quality of life as essential, and to equalize healthcare for the majority. Because at the end of the day, no matter what we say or do, we want everyone healthy and well, because this pandemic is affecting so many people, but affecting our underserved populations incredibly. And that is because those are the populations with nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, gut issues, hormone issues, chronic disease, multiple medications, you name it, they've got it. And so we do have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to get in there and take care of those folks and help get them healthy, but not by drugging and vaccinating them, by really bringing them and leading them to a lifestyle that works and a lifestyle that matters. Those of us in the wellness community are so excited that wellness and integrative medicine and holistic medicine are big words now, known words. You guys know what it is, but it's not enough. There's still a lot of work to do. And it is sobering for people like me to know how much is ahead. And it keeps me up at night. It makes me wonder, how do I have a voice in this matter? But hey, I can at least talk to you guys, right? And you can spread the message, and we can spread the message to so many more people and keep it moving from there. All right, this is an interesting one out of Florida Atlantic University, COVID-19, how South Korea prevailed while the US failed. COVID-19 is now the third leading cause of death in the United States. As I was saying earlier, it accounts for 25% of the cases in the world, although we only account for 5% of the population. The key issue here is the politicization of treatment options and the CDC. And the biggest issue, they actually talk about how there in 2013, there was a prediction of an impending pandemic by the Gates Foundation. And that was when the Pandemic Emergency Response Task Force was created, putting the U.S. as the number one worldwide by the World Health Organization in our ability to contain any future pandemics. It was disbanded in 2017, which was probably mistake number one. Mistake number two is the politics, as we've seen, to really prevent any strategic action and any really strong action. And then probably number three is that we weren't effective in the beginning. That's what essentially this article was saying, is that if we had been stricter about mask mandates in the beginning, hand washing, social distancing, had gotten in there right away and been very, very meticulous, as in South Korea, which used free and rapid point of care testing. We would try to do testing in the clinic over these last few months up until recently, and it's 10 days to get a test result back. How do you do contact tracing or any type of containment when it's taking 10 days to get a test result back? They would quarantine all contacts, so not a massive shutdown, but quarantining contacts, masking, social distancing, crowd avoidance, frequent hand washing, face washing, are at least as effective as any safe vaccine that may be developed and approved for widespread use. So what I'm trying to communicate here is that this hope that we're going to have this vaccine, and I've heard people say that, and everything's going to magically go away, is false, guys. It's not true. It is all this other stuff that is going to matter. How we wear a mask, how we wash our hands, how we take care of our immune systems, how much distance we put between people for a period of time. And the deal with the vaccine is, as a coronavirus, it will continue to mutate and change. And even Dr. Paul Offit, who heads the vaccine, sort of research and safety piece for the FDA, has warned that we can't rush to market a vaccine and then magically open the country back up. So we've got to find ways to be actionable right now in this present moment. So that's why I'm against shutdowns. I am for wearing masks. I'm against closing schools, but I am for really strategically sending kids back to school, potting, using some of these concepts that have been used in different countries. So that is where we are in our comparison to South Korea, and why some of these other countries, it's worked for them whereas it has not worked for us. All right, on the topic of testing, here's some encouraging news. I sound a little negative tonight. I'm so sorry. I'm just we got to get this thing under control. But self-collected saliva and nasal swabs are just as effective as the deep nasal swabs that your healthcare provider may do. And this is important because you can test yourself. And that would be incredible. That would be such an easy way. Everyone keeps testing themselves. We're not putting our healthcare workers at risk, although as healthcare workers, I feel like it's our responsibility to step into that fight. But we're not putting our healthcare workers at risk. At the same time, we're able to test more quickly and actually get more consistent results back, so we know exactly what to do. Okay, so I thought that was encouraging. They're finding that the data is pretty accurate when it comes to whether we collect on ourselves or whether we have a healthcare worker do it for us. So that's some good news, right? I thought that was good. And then I thought this one was interesting. The CDC dropped the 14-day quarantine. Who knew? They didn't tell anybody. Wasn't publicized, probably politicized, but it's no longer mandatory to have a 14-day quarantine upon travel. In fact, many regions of the world are getting rid of that. They are saying, however, to be cautious, continue wearing masks, continue to observe some basic rules and avoid crowded conditions. And if you're coming in from a country or coming into a country where previously you'd been somewhere where there's incredibly high caseload, then you do want to voluntarily subject yourself to a 14-day quarantine. But that was dropped by the CDC. So again, things we don't hear about, but they're actually happening in the news there. Okay, this last but not least certainly is all about vitamin D. Who's on vitamin D? If you've been listening to me, you've hopefully been on vitamin D through the duration of this virus. And I would still recommend as we go into fall and winter that we continue that, because we do know that optimized vitamin D levels, where your blood level is somewhere around 50 to 70, is ideal. And this is yet another study talking about and reviewing previous literature on vitamin D and how it continues to be such an important component of the immune system. And vitamin D is interesting because within vitamin D, we can have a whole conversation of how your body works, because so many people test out as being low in vitamin D and they take vitamin D and that number still doesn't go up, but there's a reason for it. And oftentimes those people either have the gene, there's the VDR gene, which actually dictates or predicts that you'll have a chronic high need of vitamin D, or you may have a gut issue, fat malabsorption, not breaking certain foods down very well. Vitamin D, remember, is a fat soluble vitamin. So the inability to absorb it and break it down is very much tied to gut health. So we keep coming back to that central concept of digestive health and how it's the foundation of the immune system, how it's responsible for absorption of vitamin D, and taking vitamin D is critical for the immune system in two ways: to help fight off invaders like a coronavirus, but also to prevent your immune system, which can get overwrought, to prevent it from attacking itself. So without vitamin D, it'll start to attack healthy tissues, which again is directly what we see when we look at autoimmune disease, right? So before COVID, we were talking a lot about autoimmune disease and how autoimmune diseases were on the rise and inflammatory conditions were on the rise. And why was that happening? And it was tied to gut health and nutrition and environmental toxicity and all these things, that we talk over and over again that now seem to pale in urgency in comparison to, to COVID and to coronavirus. But vitamin D is a part of that conversation as well. So again, you should know your levels, know your numbers, go to the doctor, get these things checked, understand where you stand. Because when you don't, you become a statistic. And that is the last thing I want for anyone. It's so critical to know what your hormone numbers are, what your inflammation numbers are, what your vitamin D level is, what your B12 level is, what your methylfolate. These are all things that are vital to how our body functions and allows us to think, to feel, to process information, to have a great relationship, hold a great job, have children. All of these things are so important. So you've got to know your numbers, and it's important to develop a relationship with someone who's going to check them and monitor them in some sort of regular rhythm or fashion. So you know very quickly and very early on when things go wrong. And that is what we do at Center Spring MD. And that's what we have been doing for over a decade and will continue to do until I probably can't talk anymore, but I promise I'll hand the reins off to somebody who will. So anyhow, so those are our studies from this week that I thought were interesting. There was another one that I didn't print out. I do think it's important to mention, talking about children. So much controversy over children. Are they spreaders? Are they not? Are they asymptomatic? Guys, the kids have to go to school. Period. End of story. Every country in the world has attempted to get their children back in school. Schools are a safe harbor for kids. They're where they have mental support, emotional support. The majority of kids are asymptomatic. What do our kids need to do? They need to be in systems that stagger the opening of schools, that help with maintaining volume and spread, and take the right measures and put them in place. The kids need to be in school, and we have to get over our fears, and we have to try, because as I've said before, this thing is not going away, and it is not fair to these children to have now 6 months of no education. Virtual school does not count. I don't care what anyone wants to say about it, but it's absolutely unfair to them and unfair to their future. So we have to try. And as adults, we have to grow up and buckle up, and we have to try to get these kids in school. And when we observe the right precautions and the right measures, other countries have shown us the way, which is embarrassing. We're the United States of America, but other countries have shown us how to do this effectively, and the caseload will go up. But the caseload is not the issue. The mortality, the risk, and the morbidity is the bigger issue. So again, I want you guys to get rid of the fear and the panic and the negativity, and understand that we are in a political season, and every headline is tainted by that flavor. And it's not fair in the interim to you, to me, to our children, and to everybody else who's suffering. I literally, I'm so kind of worn by the time I get home from clinic that, that I don't have, there's so many stories I'd love to tell. And there's not one person that has come to me and not been anxious or depressed or upset and affected by this pandemic. There are a few that have enjoyed it. They've enjoyed working from home and spending more time with their children. And there are definitely gifts from the pandemic and from being at home. However, the majority have experienced incredible stress and incredible frustration. And that journey and that story is going to take a toll on this generation's health. So I want it all to change, and my hope is that it will. And I hope you guys continue spreading the message of taking care of yourselves, staying healthy, and all of that good stuff. All right, so that's what I've got. Let me see if I can take any questions from anyone. We answered the question about sleep. Hospital workers, hang in there, guys. I know that I actually used to work in the emergency room for years, for over a decade. And I know what that's like. And I feel for you guys. And I know that all of this is, weighing on you. All right, let's see. Will you please share why you are for wearing masks? Absolutely. So when we wear masks, this is an airborne virus. And so when we wear masks, we are decreasing spread to somebody standing in front of us or around us, at the same time protecting ourselves. So I think it's very important for us to wear a mask. And that is something that we know works across the board when we look at research. Do they have they have a vaccine that they are trying to push out, but there is concern about safety, because when you rush anything to market, it's not going it's not really, you're not really going through all the testing that you typically do. All right, I use a supercharged version of vitamin D3 called AHCC, which I like. I do like AHCC, so I'm all for that. What should your vitamin D level be? We talked about it being at least between 50 and 70 units, depending on the lab you're using. So you really want to look at that number and have it somewhere between that. All right, so those are the questions I'm getting here. Let me just scroll through the rest of this and see what's going on. All right, I don't see any more questions, so I think we're in good shape. So again, remember to enter the giveaway. The giveaway this time is all about hormone balance. Send me your questions. I'll post the picture for the giveaway tomorrow. Remember to tag 3 friends, and we'll let it go the whole week as we have been, and then we'll pick at the end of the week and close it out and announce the winner. And we already have this week's winner for the Smoothie Lab, so congratulations to her, and we'll be sending her a message as well. And I think that probably takes care of everything. Oh, goodness, forgot. Tuesday, I am doing a webinar, a free webinar. For those of you on Instagram, the link is right there in the bio. We're doing a free webinar on weight loss. So we'll get into weight loss, my weight loss types that I've been talking about that are on my website at drtaz.com. The kind of easy ways to lose weight, hard ways to lose weight, what blocks people. We'll have that conversation and dig a little bit further into that. That, again, is inspired after the 10-day jumpstart, where people were really trying to put their quarantine habits behind them. And I know many of you still are, but understanding what weight really is and how you should be eating. Does everyone need to be paleo or keto or gluten-free? No, but it's important to understand you and how you're supposed to eat. So that's coming up on Tuesday and it's free. Make sure you register. The link is in the bio. So a good week, lots going on. I think there are a few lives as well, but I'll post everything so you guys can keep up with it. And hopefully we're not overwhelming everyone with too much information. And if there's information and content that you would like to see, just reach out to us, let us know, and we'd be happy to start talking about that as well. So I'll leave you with that. This last week of August, hard to believe this pandemic started in March. So we're almost at 6 months of this thing, at least here in the United States. I know we have people joining us from all around the world, but hang in there. We will get through this. We will prevail. We will overcome. I predict we have another month or two of bumpiness until we get through the political part of this. And then hopefully we can gently close 2020 and pray and hope that this never happens again. So meanwhile, follow your dreams. Your dreams make you who you are, and then do what makes you happy. And let's go into this last week of August with those thoughts as the chaos around us will continue to swirl. All right, stay healthy, stay well, stay super powered, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for joining.